What's up, world? I'm Cameron McKinney, and this is Pop Culture Spotlight, a podcast about the movie Toy Story 5. Here's a quick synopsis. Jessie and the other toys attempt to help Bonnie gain a friend, but things go sideways when she's gifted a tablet known as Lily Pad. The film stars Tom Hanks, Tim Allen, Joan Cusack, Conan O'Brien, and Greta Lee. Standout performances: Tom Hanks and Tim Allen have been voicing the iconic Woody and Buzz Lightyear respectively for over 20 years now, and when thinking about this duo, I think it's interesting to talk about how once upon a time they were on a more equal level playing field. When Toy Story came out in 1995, yes, Tom Hanks was then a two-time Oscar-winning actor in back-to-back years with Philadelphia and Forrest Gump. But at that point, Tim Allen was the biggest family-friendly star with the hit sitcom Home Improvement and The Santa Claus, still a must-watch holiday film. As the years have gone on, Hanks has maintained his star status. He's still a leading man and a guy people take notice of when he's in a movie, while Allen has been in other sitcoms outside of Home Improvement that aren't as good, and movies that just have not resonated like his early ones, like The Santa Claus. Infamously, comedian Ricky Gervais made this joke at the Golden Globes in 2011. Our next two presenters. The first has won 5 Oscars, combined box office of $5 billion, and the other, Tim Allen. My point in bringing all of this up was to say that it was once a big cultural deal that both Tom Hanks and Tim Allen were voices in Toy Story. We should talk about the characters themselves. In Toy Story 5, Woody is with Bo Peep helping toys in need, and Buzz is Jessie's deputy, and throughout the film is waiting for a perfect moment to propose to her. The stuff about Woody is fine. The Buzz-Jessie romance is probably the biggest issue with the movie that I have. It's not that I think it's bad, it's just I don't care about it, and I do wonder if other fans of this franchise care about it as well. Compare it to the semi-romance between Woody and Bo Peep. Like, I understand that one more because that one is in the original film. Like, I get where that's coming from. I don't get caring about Buzz Lightyear and Jessie as a couple. Maybe people do. Maybe I'm in the wrong. I just don't care myself. Before I move on, I do want to circle back to Tim Allen because I feel like while I think this role is keeping him culturally relevant, I do find this to be an interesting question to ask. Would the solo movie Lightyear have been a bigger hit if Buzz Lightyear was voiced by Tim Allen and not Chris Evans? What I'm saying is, was the failure of that movie a little bit about the fact that the only person we want voicing Buzz Lightyear to be Tim Allen? And it's worth bringing up Tom Hanks again. Like, if Pixar had made a solo movie about Woody, there's no way they would have recasted Tom Hanks. Tom Hanks would have been the voice of Woody. So there's a part of me that thinks that they recasted Tim Allen in that solo Lightyear movie because he's not as culturally relevant as he was in the 1990s. And that decision probably ended up being a mistake. I do think people care about Tim Allen as Buzz Lightyear. I don't think they care about his other strings of sitcoms outside of Home Improvement. But I think when it comes to this character, when they think of Buzz Lightyear, they think of Tim Allen. And if you think I'm being a little too harsh about Tim Allen on this particular podcast, I'd like to point out I've been a fan, not just of his work as Buzz Lightyear. I've watched every episode of Home Improvement. I used to be super obsessed with that sitcom. It was one of those I would watch on the daily. I've also watched The Santa Claus too many times to count. I have been a fan of his in the past. I just think it's important to contextualize the fact that when Toy Story was first starting, Tom Hanks was a megastar, and so was Tim Allen. Joan Cusack is great as Jessie in Toy Story 5 and has been since Toy Story 2. And here's my overall feelings about the character. Jessie is the most important character in the history of Pixar. I say that because with her, Pixar found the model of what they are so good at, adding an emotional arc. Jessie being abandoned by her owner in Toy Story 5 gave way for films like Finding Nemo, Up, and Inside Out. The first Toy Story is great, but it doesn't pull at your heartstrings like future Pixar films. And the same goes for A Bug's Life, one of my all-time favorites of theirs. Early Pixar was about the advancement of CGI animation. What Pixar became and what they still are today is a studio that makes deeply emotional movies that both kids and adults enjoy. And it would not be what it is today without the character of Jessie. I love the fact that the character is the lead of Toy Story 5. And finally, Conan O'Brien, who I would argue was the last truly great late-night host, has started to make a real impact in films with his performance in If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You, playing Rose Byrne's therapist. In Toy Story 5, the comedian voices Smarty Pants, a toy used during potty training. Simply put, the character is funny because Conan O'Brien is funny. These are the three filmmakers most important in the history of Pixar. Pete Docter, who made Monsters, Inc., Up, Inside Out, and Soul. Brad Bird with The Incredibles, Ratatouille, and Incredibles 2. And Andrew Stanton, the director behind Finding Nemo, WALL-E, Finding Dory, and now Toy Story 5. And this is a full circle moment for Stanton, who is the only man with a writing credit on all 5 Toy Story installments. He not only gets a screenplay credit on Toy Story 5, but now he's the director of a Toy Story movie. Stanton has had his issues with live action films, see John Carter, but Stanton is one of the key figures of modern animation, and Pixar would not be what it is without him. I think he is the reason why Toy Story 5 is as good as it is. Let's get into it. Toy Story 5 is about how technology is changing children in mostly a bad way. Instead of playing with toys, they stare at a screen all day. And this is a part of the film that really works. Maybe this franchise should have commented on this change in tech sooner, but it is what it is. But I really connected what the movie had to say, especially when it comes to Bonnie's trouble making friends. I absolutely loved the moments between Bonnie and a new character named Blaze. What I did not like is when Toy Story 5 rehashes ideas from the other films. We get it. Toys like Jessie are afraid of being abandoned by their kids. I did not enjoy when Jessie was worrying about that. It's way more compelling when her mission is to get Bonnie a friend. This is a rare sequel where all the new elements are brilliant and working, and all of the, let's call it, playing the hits fall flat. And I don't know if I'm in the consensus with that opinion or if people feel differently, like they want more of the classic stuff they know from the Toy Story franchise. They want more Buzz Lightyear. They want more Woody. They want more Rex. I think it's inarguable to say that the most important moments of this movie are the ones shared with Jessie and a bunch of new characters, and I don't know how many of the original fans of Toy Story feel about that. Do they wish that Woody played a more pivotal part in this story? I obviously do not feel that way. I think it was a brilliant choice to make Jessie the vocal point of this story. And the tech characters like Lily Pad and like Smarty Pants are what makes this movie feel new and refreshing. I think there's a discussion to be had about how many more Toy Story movies can you make if Buzz Lightyear and Woody are not going to be the leads of them. Yes, you can justify having Jessie be the lead, but how many other characters in the Toy Story franchise can be the lead of a movie? I don't think Rex can be the lead of a movie. I don't think Slinky can be the lead of a movie, and I don't think Mr. Potato Head could carry an entire film. There's this feeling out there that we are close to a final Toy Story movie. Maybe that's going to be Toy Story 6. But if this franchise keeps making billion-dollar films, then Disney and Pixar are probably going to keep going back to that well, don't you think? Box office. So far, Toy Story 5 has made $769 million and is well on its way to $1 billion. When it reaches that number, it will be the sixth Pixar movie to make $1 billion, the third Toy Story movie to do so. Worth noting, all 6 films are sequels. I brought this up when I was talking about Hoppers. Is that the model for Pixar moving forward? Like, if they made a sequel to Hoppers, would people be invested enough for it to be a movie that reaches close to $1 billion? I think that's the kind of thing that Pixar needs to happen. We all know that a third Incredibles movie is probably going to make $1 billion. And if they do end up making a sequel to Monsters, Inc., that could make $1 billion because we know that people care about those movies. I think a Cars 4 would make close to $1 billion. But the problem is, if you made a sequel to Elemental, would it come anywhere near close to $1 billion? If you made a sequel to Soul, would it make close to $1 billion? And if you made a sequel to Luca, would that movie make $1 billion? I think we all think the answer is no. It's clear that Pixar needs its sequels to be the hits so that they can make the Lucas, so that they can make the Souls, so that they can make the Turning Reds. But the issue is what happens when people are no longer interested in sequels to Finding Nemo, to Toy Story, to The Incredibles, to Cars, and to Monsters, Inc. You just have to hope that one of your newer films turns into its own franchise. I just don't know if Hoppers could become something like that. I like that film. It's one of my favorites of the year so far. But again, if you announced Hoppers 2 tomorrow, I don't know how much better that movie fares at the box office than the original did. Because here's the thing about Toy Story, Inside Out, and The Incredibles. Those sequels to those films were hits because the originals were massive hits as well. I mean, I just don't know if Pixar can come up with an original idea that's going to make $1 billion. I wouldn't count them out because they've done it in the past, but man, they need a hit that is an original film or they could be in trouble real soon. The last original Pixar movie that I would describe as a gigantic box office hit was Coco, and that is a movie that is getting a sequel. My point, and I don't mean to hammer it home, is that Pixar needs an original movie that crushes it at the box office. Oscar chances. The last Pixar movie to win Best Animated Feature was Soul in 2020. Toy Story 5, of course, has a great chance because it's great. Toy Story 3 and 4 won the award. Andrew Stanton has taken home the award twice, but there may be steep competition in the form of Hoppers, the other Pixar movie of the year, and Wildwood from Travis Knight, who has been nominated for Best Animated Feature 3 times himself. Here's where I'm at between the debate between Toy Story 5 and Hoppers. There's a part of me that would rather Hoppers win Best Animated Feature because 2 other Toy Story movies have already taken home the award, Toy Story 3 and 4. But I do believe Toy Story 5 is the better movie than Hoppers and would be more than happy if it ended up winning the award. All in all, 2026 has been a very good year for Pixar. They're getting box office boost and they're getting critical acclaim for both of the movies they've released in 2026. I want to go back to Andrew Stanton for a minute because that is one concern I have about the future of Pixar is who exactly is going to be directing these movies. Pete Docter is running the show and he hasn't directed a Pixar movie since Soul, and I don't know if he has any plans to do so in the future. Andrew Stanton is a fixture at Pixar, but he is still trying to make live action films. I don't know his interest in directing future animated films. And Brad Bird has a new animated movie coming out on Netflix. He is writing the script for a third Incredibles movie, but is not directing it. So you see my concern. Earlier, I said that those three men are the most important filmmakers in the history of Pixar, and I don't know when any of them are going to be directing another film for the studio. Those three men are not only their best directors, they're the ones who come up with the ideas, and they're the ones who have directed the hits. They are recognizable names in animation. People know of their works. Again, Andrew Stanton is the man behind Finding Nemo, the film that a lot of people would say is their favorite Pixar movie ever. He also directed WALL-E, one of their best films. And even though I don't love Finding Dory, I can admit it's better than a lot of other Pixar movies. That being said, Daniel Chong did a great job on Hoppers and deserves more opportunities to direct future Pixar films. Peter Sohn did a good job on Elemental, and next he'll be directing Incredibles 3. But a lot of people are questioning if that sequel will be able to maintain the quality of the other two without Brad Bird at the helm. Pixar feels like they are at a turning point because I don't know how many of their future films are going to be directed by the likes of Pete Docter, Andrew Stanton, and Brad Bird. To hone in on Andrew Stanton for a minute, I think Toy Story 5 is what it is because of Andrew Stanton. All right, there's only one way to end this podcast, which is to give my rankings of the 5 Toy Story movies. I would like to preface this by saying this is going to be based on my favorites. I think it's impossible to go on quality because this franchise has been uber consistent. Okay, coming in at number 5 is Toy Story 4. It's a very good movie, but not one of them I think about a lot. Number 4 is possibly my most controversial pick. I have to do it. I hate to do it, but it's Toy Story 3. I think this movie has the best ending of any of the Toy Story films, but overall, I do not think it's the best movie. I know there are many of you who disagree with that, but that is just how I feel about Toy Story 3. I get it. It has a great emotional arc. I think it has one of the best endings of any Pixar movie, but overall, it's just not one of my favorites. Coming in at number 3 is Toy Story 5. This is probably the biggest compliment I can give this movie. Going into Toy Story 5, I could not have been less interested in a 5th Toy Story movie. I thought this was probably going to be something not for me, and I walked out endlessly impressed with what Andrew Stanton came up with. Again, maybe they waited a little too long to acknowledge that tech has replaced toys, but I found the film's commentary on the subject to be meaningful and impactful. Number 2, and maybe this is controversial, although I don't think it is the original Toy Story. It's a superb start. Pixar would not be Pixar without this film. It was a gigantic hit. But like I was saying earlier, I think it lacks the emotional payoff that this franchise and Pixar has become known for. Maybe I'm just somebody who doesn't like saying that the original film is the best film of a franchise, but I really do believe that Toy Story has evolved into something special after this original film, and that gets me to number 1, Toy Story 2. It's the obvious pick. It's crazy that the original plan was for this to be a direct-to-video sequel. This is the best film Pixar has ever made. It's one of the best sequels ever made. So there you have it, my ranking of the Toy Story franchise. Thanks for listening to this edition of Pop Culture Spotlight. I highly recommend you check out Toy Story 5. Next week on the podcast, I'm talking about Power Ballad from John Carney, starring Paul Rudd and Nick Jonas. So tune into that, and please rate, review, and subscribe.